No one in the Cathari collective had ever questioned it. Water meant death. Every Cathari child learned this before learning numbers. Every scientist accepted it before learning doubt. Water-pure, deep, oxygen-rich, water destroyed living cells. It tore apart soft tissue. It poisoned internal systems. It erased life. On their frozen homeworld, Keth, liquid water existed only 4 seconds before freezing or evaporating. The Cathari had evolved deep beneath thick ice sheets, swimming in heavy, ammonia seas where oxygen was scarce and pressure was crushing. That was where life belonged. That was where Sci-Fi life belonged. Anything else was impossible, or so they believed. The Cathari had built an empire on certainty. Their science was precise, their models flawless, their equations complete. If a planet had more than 20% liquid water, it was marked dead world and ignored forever. No debates, no exceptions. The galaxy was filled with such worlds, blue, shining, beautiful, and completely lifeless. Commander Reth Valkor believed this rule more than most. He had lost a research team once. A simple accident, a leaking container, trace water. Vapor escaped into a lab. 3 scientists died screaming within seconds. Water did not forgive mistakes. So when the long-range sensors screamed alert on the edge of Cathari space, Reth was already annoyed. "Report," he snapped. A junior officer hesitated. "It's a probe, Commander. Origin unknown. Not Cathari. Not any registered collective species." Reth turned slowly. Unknown did not mean dangerous, but it never meant safe. The probe was small, too small, bare metal shell, weak shielding. No visible weapons. Primitive, the kind of machine a young species would send out before it knew better. "That thing crossed 5 systems," Reth muttered. Double quotes, "Yes, Commander. Intercept it." The Cathari fleet moved with quiet precision. White ships surrounded the probe without touching it. Manipulator arms extended. Steady and careful. The probe did not resist. It did not flee. It simply transmitted numbers, patterns, mathematics, RETH. Felt his mandibles tighten. Intelligence translation took weeks. Then language, then meaning. Finally, the message was understood. We are human. We seek knowledge. We come in peace. Peace was a dangerous word, but curiosity was stronger. Reth authorized limited communication. No biological exchange. No physical contact. Only data. Only words. The humans responded quickly. Eagerly. Almost. Happily, that worried him more than hostility. The conversation drifted. Star charts. Physics constants. Navigation methods. Then one of Reth's scientists asked a simple question. The question that would end everything. What is the surface composition of your homeworld? There was a pause. Longer than expected. Then the human answer arrived. Approximately 70% liquid water. The command deck froze. Reth stared at the display. 70%. Not trace. Not pockets. Oceans. That's impossible. Someone whispered. Reth felt something cold twist inside him. Reconfirm. The human response came immediately. Confirmed. 70%. Mostly salt water. Salt water, worse. Worse. Ret. He transmitted claw into the console. Error, he transmitted. Your data is corrupted. Another pause. Then the human reply. Our data is accurate. We evolved there. Evolved. On a world that should kill life. Instantly, Reth felt anger rising, or fear, he wasn't sure. "Prepare biological verification," he ordered. The scientists hesitated. "Commander." If they are lying, Reth said quietly, "we will know." A proposal was sent. A simple test. A controlled environment. A chamber filled with liquid water. No tricks, no deception. If you come from such a world. The Kethari message ended, "You will not survive." The human reply shocked everyone. "Understood. We accept." Reth leaned back in his command. No species agreed to certain death, unless they didn't believe it was death at all. And that thought, that terrifying, impossible thought stayed with him as the human ship changed course toward Cathari space. Because if the humans were telling the truth, then Cathari science was wrong. And if science was wrong, everything else followed. The human ship arrived without drama. No weapons powered up. No aggressive maneuvers. No warning signals. It simply entered Cathari space and slowed to a polite stop, as if it trusted that nothing bad would happen. That alone made Commander Reth Valcor uneasy. Only fools trusted the unknown, or beings who feared nothing. The ship was wrong. Its design ignored many rules of Cathari engineering. The hull was thinner than safety models allowed. The structure looked light, fragile, almost careless. Yet it had crossed the stars. That vessel should have failed. One engineer muttered, "Yes," Reth replied quietly. And yet, it didn't. Docking procedures began. No physical connection. No shared air. No shared space. A transparent chamber was prepared between the two vessels, sealed perfectly from both environments. The humans would remain in oxygen-rich air. The Cathari, in a monobased atmosphere, no mistakes, no accidents. The first human appeared on the screen. One body, two arms. Two legs, soft, exposed, no shell. No armor. Reth felt a strange discomfort looking at it. How does it survive anything? A scientist whispered. The human smiled. That expression showing teeth was unsettling. "I am Dr. Elena Moore," the human said calmly. "I am a planetary biologist. Thank you for allowing contact." Reth did not return the greeting. "State your species' purpose," he said. "Discovery," the human replied. "Understanding, and friendship, if possible." Friendship. Another dangerous word. Reth gestured to the council scientists. "Begin. Preparations." The chamber between them shifted. Panels moved. Systems activated. A large transparent tank rose from the floor. Empty, waiting. Waiting, Dr. Moore looked at it. Then back at Reth. "This is the test." "Yes," Reth said. "Pure water. No additives, no tricks." The human nodded slowly. "As you wish." No fear, no hesitation. That disturbed Reth more than panic would have. As technicians began filling the chamber, alarms quietly reported chemical readings. Oxygen levels rose. Liquid density increased. Water death. One Cathari scientist leaned close. To Reth Commander. "What if this is deception?" Reth shook his head. No species would send one of their own to die for a lie. He paused. "Unless they truly do not believe it will die." The tank finished filling. Clear, perfect. The water reflected the chamber lights. Like a polished mirror, Dr. Moore stepped forward. She removed a light breathing mask. Gasps rippled. Through the Cathari scientists, unprotected exposure to oxygen was already dangerous. Yet the human stood calmly. "Final confirmation," Reth said. "You will enter the water chamber. If your biology fails, we will attempt extraction. But survival is unlikely." Dr. Moore met his gaze. "I understand." She stepped into the chamber. The doors sealed. Silence fell. Reth raised a claw. "Begin." Recording. Dr. Moore placed one foot into the water. Nothing happened. She stepped fully inside. Her skin did not blister. Her blood did not boil. She knelt, then slowly lowered herself beneath the surface. 10 seconds. Past Cathari senses screamed warnings, but not about the human, about the water reacting normally with her body. Oxygen intake, through lungs, muscle. Movement efficient. Heart rhythm stable. "This cannot be correct," a scientist whispered. 30 seconds. The human opened her eyes underwater. She waved. The gesture was casual, playful. 1 minute, then 2, then 3. Reth's mandibles trembled. "No," he murmured. "This is not possible." Dr. Moore pushed off the chamber floor and swam, not struggling, not surviving, swimming. The chamber erupted into chaos. "End test. Override safety. Run secondary scans." Reth raised both claws. Silence. The human surfaced, brushed water from her face, and smiled again. "How long do you need?" she asked. Reth stared for the first time in his long career. He did not know what to say, because the truth was undeniable now. The humans did not come from death. They came from a world that trained them in it, and if water Cathari's greatest fear was merely home to them. What else had shaped these beings? What other horrors had they learned to live with? Reth leaned back slowly. This was no longer a test. This was the beginning of something far more dangerous. Understanding. The chamber was silent after the test. Too silent. Commander Reth Valkor stood frozen, staring at the human who had just climbed out of pure water like it was nothing more than warm air. Dr. Alina Moore wrapped a thin cloth around her shoulders. Water dripped onto the floor, spreading calmly, harmlessly. No alarms, no death, no failure, only proof. "Scan her," Reth ordered. His voice sounded distant, even to himself. Multiple scanners activated at once. Medical beams crossed over the human's body, mapping every cell, every system. The results began to appear, and then the shouting started. "This cannot be correct. The oxygen saturation is lethal. Her blood is filled with corrosive metal. That pressure tolerance no soft species should survive that." Reth raised a claw again. "Explain," he said, slowly. A senior biologist stepped forward, his voice shaking. "Commander, human biology is not balanced for safety. It is balanced for survival." Reth turned toward the displays. They showed layers upon layers of data. Bone density far beyond expectations. Muscle fibers reinforced like woven cable. Skin that healed itself aggressively, and blood. So much iron they carry oxygen using metal, the biologist continued. In high concentrations. Inside their bodies. Metal. Oxygen. Together. Inside living flesh. That combination should have destroyed them. Instead, it powered them. Dr. Moore watched quietly. "You see," she said gently, "water is not gentle. On our world." Reth looked at her explain. "Our oceans are deep," she said. "They crush. They freeze. They starve." She paused. "And still, life adapts." Images appeared on the screen. Humans diving into dark trenches. Creatures with teeth and claws moving through shadows. Storms tearing waves into the sky. "This is normal for us," Dr. Moore said. Reth felt something heavy settle in his chest. Normal, death. Made normal. The biologist's voice broke the silence. Again, Commander. Humans experience constant cellular damage. Reth snapped his head around. Then how are they alive? The biologist swallowed. Because their bodies repair themselves faster than the damage occurs. That was the moment Cathari science began to collapse. Their models assumed stability, safety, balance. Human? Biology assumed pain, assumed stress, assumed constant threat. Another scientist spoke. Another scientist spoke. Another scientist spoke. There's the moment, Pierre Deleste, almost afraid of his own words. Their immune system is not defensive, it is violent. Images appeared. Cells attacking invaders with overwhelming force. Scars forming and fading. Bones breaking and healing stronger. They evolved on a world that never forgave weakness. The scientist said. Reth slowly lowered himself into his command seat. A death world, he whispered. Dr. Moore nodded. We don't call it that, she said. We call it home. The chamber doors opened. Cathari officials entered cautiously. Keeping distance from the human dot, none looked amused now. None looked superior. What about long-term exposure? Reth asked. To water? Dr. Moore smiled faintly. We are born in it. Silence. One of the younger scientists finally spoke. Commander, if humans evolved in water, then the galaxy is full of worlds we dismissed. Reth closed his eyes. Blue worlds, endless seas. Untapped life. Ignored because of fear. Prepare a report to the High Council, Reth said. Full disclosure. A. Pause and invite the human delegation to remain. Dr. Moore tilted her head. You trust us now? Reth met her gaze. No, he said honestly. But I no longer believe you are lying. That was enough. Hours later, Reth stood alone. Replaying the footage of the test, the moment the human had waved underwater. So casual, so confident, that single gesture had undone centuries of certainty. If humans could swim in death, what else? Could they endure? Fire? Vacuum? War? The thought unsettled him. Reth understood. Something then. The Cathari had built science to avoid danger. Humans had built themselves inside it. And the galaxy had just met a species shaped by pressure, pain, and impossible survival. This was not first contact anymore. This was a warning. The High Council of the Cathari Collective did not meet in Pangaea. They met in silence. Hundreds of officials filled the circular chamber, each seated in their recess stations. The air was heavy with ammonia and unease. No one spoke while Commander Reth Valkor's report played across the massive central display. The image froze on one moment, a human woman underwater, smiling. This recording has been verified, Reth said. No deception. No error. A low rumble moved through the chamber. Impossible things had been seen before in theory. Never like this. One council elder finally spoke. If water is not death, then our star maps are wrong. Reth nodded. Severely wrong. The council's analysts activated the galaxy projection. Hundreds of blue worlds appeared. Planets the Cathari had ignored for generations. Marked useless. Marked empty. Marked dead. Based on revised human data. An analyst said carefully. At least 40% of those worlds may support complex life. The chamber erupted. That is absurd. Our science would never be colonized. Barren rocks while life thrived next door. Anger mixed with fear. Because this was not just a mistake, it was a failure of vision, Commander. Reth raised a claw. There is more. The human delegation's proposal appeared on screen. Simple, direct, terrifying, double quotes. Wish to conduct joint surveys, Reth said. On ocean worlds. Silence returned. A younger council member leaned forward. You would allow humans to enter such worlds freely? They already live on one, Reth replied. Another voice joined. What do they want in return? Reth hesitated. Knowledge exchange. Access to Amonisi biology. And permission. Permission for what? To settle limited research stations in Cathari space. The fear became clear. If humans could live anywhere water existed, their reach was vast. If they shared knowledge, their influence would spread. They are soft, one elder said suddenly. Physically fragile. Reth looked at the elder. They swim in death, he replied. They are not fragile. Dr. Alina Moore was allowed to speak. Her image appeared in the chamber. Calm, respectful. We are not conquerors. She said, we explored because we must. Must. An elder repeated. Yes, she said. Our world taught us something. Chambra waited. That survival does not come from avoiding danger, she continued. It comes from adapting to it. Images appeared. Human settlements near storms. Research stations beneath ice. Divers descending into crushing depths. We push into places that hurt, she said. Because that's how we grow. Reth watched the council closely. Some were afraid. Others fascinated. A few hopeful. What happens? One counselor asked. Quietly, when your people find something they cannot survive. Dr. Moore paused. Then smiled faintly. We adapt again. The council dismissed the humans for deliberation. Hours passed. Debate raged. Some demanded isolation. Others demanded alliance. A few whispered the word threat. Reth stood alone at the edge of the chamber. He remembered the human. Waving underwater. No fear. Just confidence earned by hardship. Finally, the High Speaker called for silence. A vote will be taken. She announced. To open restricted water worlds for joint exploration. The vote lights activated. One by one. Green, green, red, green. The final count appeared. Approved. Red. Exhaled slowly. History shifted. Later, in a quiet observation chamber. Reth met Dr. Moore again. You understand what this means? He said. Yes, she replied. You will change our society. Dr. Moore met his eyes. You will change ours too. Reth looked through the viewport at a distant blue planet. For us, he said, water was the end of life. For us, Dr. Moore replied, it was the beginning. As the human ship prepared to depart for the first joint mission, Reth realized the truth. The Cathari had feared water. Because it killed them? Humans respected it. But they never feared it. And any species that could swim in death would never be easy to stop. The ocean world waited in silence. From orbit, it looked endless. Blues stretched beyond the curve of the planet, broken only by storms and white clouds that moved like living things. Lightning flashed across the atmosphere. Waves rose and fell. Like slow-breathing giants, to the Cathari it was a nightmare made real. To the humans, it was beautiful. Commander Reth Valkor stood inside the observation deck of the joint research vessel. His ammonia suit hummed softly as it kept him alive. Outside the viewport, the water world Palagos 9 spun calmly below. So much death. One Cathari officer whispered. Dr. Alina Moore stood beside them. So much life, she replied. The descent began. Human landing craft detached from the main ship and entered the atmosphere. Heat shields flared. Winds battered the hull. Rain hammered against metal like a million strikes. The Cathari craft followed. Slower, heavier, protected by layers of caution. Reth's grip tightened on the handholds. Every instinct screamed. This was wrong. The landing platform emerged from the water like a steel island. Waves slammed against its sides. Beneath it, the ocean moved endlessly. This platform is floating? A Cathari engineer asked. Yes, Dr. Moore answered calmly. It always has to be. The airlock opened. Human crew members moved first. They wore light gear, flexible suits, easy movements. Some carried equipment. Others simply looked out at the ocean. Reth followed, his suit system screaming warnings. Moisture, pressure, chemical threat. Everything his species feared surrounded him. Then it happened. A human researcher walked to the edge of the platform. Without warning, she jumped. Reth shouted. Several Cathari officers recoiled in terror. The human hit the water and vanished beneath the waves. Seconds passed. Then her head emerged. She laughed. Surface clear. She called. Visibility is great. The ocean did not kill her. It carried her. Reth's breathing slowed. This was not science anymore. This was witnessing a truth. His people had denied for centuries. Underwater drones deployed next human pilots. Guided them smoothly into the depths. Images streamed back to the command deck. Forests of coral. Creatures of light and shadow. Life everywhere, thriving, evolving, ket. Hari scientists watched in stunned silence. We marked these worlds empty. One whispered, Reth answered quietly. We were wrong. Dr. Moore approached him. Commander, she said, would you like to see it? Reth froze. See, the water? Yes, she said. Safely. A special chamber was prepared. Thick barriers. Controlled pressure. No exposure to oxygen. Inside, water flowed beyond transparent walls, fish-like. Creatures drifted past, living. Free, Reth stepped. Inside, his senses screamed again. But nothing touched him. Nothing harmed. Pangium Tatsa clawed gently against the glass. The water pressed back. Alive. This world was never hostile. Dr. Moore said softly. It was just unfamiliar. Reth realized something then. The Cathari had not explored the galaxy. They had avoided it. The joint mission continued for days. Human teams mapped the oceans. Cathari teams studied data they had once refused to collect. Trust grew slowly, fear faded, even slower. Then the storm came. Winds howled. Waves rose higher than the platform. Systems strained. The Cathari engineers panicked. This structure will fail. Dr. Moore remained calm. It won't, she said. It's built for this. The humans moved quickly. They secured equipment. Adjusted ballast. Reinforced anchors. They had done this before. Many times. When the storm passed, the platform still stood, damaged, but standing. Reth looked at the humans with new eyes. They did not conquer nature. They endured it. That night, Reth recorded a private message to the High Council. "Our greatest mistake," he said, "was believing safety created intelligence." He paused. Humans became intelligent because their world never was safe. As Pelagos 9 rotated beneath the stars, Reth felt something unfamiliar. Not fear, not shame, wonder, because the Cathari were finally walking where death once lived, and learning that it had never been death at all. The message from Pelagos 9 spread faster than any fleet ever could. Data streams flooded the Cathari collective. Images of living oceans. Reports of storms survived. Footage of humans swimming where Cathari sensors once predicted instant death. The truth could no longer be contained. The galaxy listened. On Cathar, the High Council reconvened. This time, there was no silence. There was noise, fear, debate. A deep, painful reckoning. Commander Reth Valkor stood before them once again. His voice steady, despite the weight of history pressing on his species. "We were not unlucky," he said. "We were not deceived." He paused. "We were wrong." The council displays showed star charts updated with new markers. Former dead worlds were relabeled. Potential cradles of life. Hundreds of them. "We avoided these worlds," Reth continued, "while another species learnt to live inside them." Number 1 interrupted him. They no longer could. Dr. Alina Moore appeared beside him via holo-link. Not as a conqueror, not as a hero. As a teacher, humans did not master water, she said calmly. Water mastered us first. Images followed. Human. Children learning to swim. Divers pushing deeper. Rescue teams fighting storms to save strangers. Our planet hurt us, she continued. So we adapted. One council elder finally spoke. You built yourselves in pain? Yes, Dr. Moore replied, and we learned compassion from it. That answer shocked them more than any biological data. The vote that followed changed the future of two civilizations. The Cathari Collective officially revised its core scientific doctrine. Water was no longer classified as lethal by default. Avoidance was replaced with study. Fear with curiosity. More importantly, a new decision was made. The Cathari would not attempt to copy humanity. They would learn beside them. Months passed. Joint stations appeared above blue worlds. Human engineers and Cathari scientists worked side by side. Mistakes happened. Fear returned sometimes, but trust grew faster. Commander Reth visited Pelagos 9 one final time. This time, he stood inside a reinforced observation sphere, lowered beneath. The waves outside. The ocean moved endlessly. Life passed by in glowing colors. He pressed his claw to the glass again. I was born fearing this, he said quietly. Dr. Moore stood beside him. And now? Reth watched a massive creature glide past. Now, he said, I fear what we might have missed. The galaxy noticed the change. Other species watched carefully. A species that thrived on death worlds. Another that had the humility to admit error. Together. That was rare, that was dangerous, that was powerful. Humanity did not expand by force, they expanded by example. Where others saw danger, they saw challenge. Where others saw death, they saw adaptation. Years later, Cathari children watched recordings in their learning chambers. Humans swimming, laughing, surviving. 1. Young Cathari asked a question that would have once been forbidden. If water is not death, what else have we misunderstood? No teacher silenced them. Commander Reth, older now, recorded his final report. Our science once sought comfort, he said. Our allies taught us growth. He looked out at the stars. Life does not fear harsh worlds. It is shaped by them. Far away, on Earth, waves crashed against familiar shores. Humans swam. They always had. Unaware that long ago, those same waves had rewritten the fate of another species. The galaxy had learned a final lesson. Not all death worlds kill you, some of them make you strong enough to teach the stars how to live.